r/ask Reddit. What's legal that should be illegal? Car horn and siren noises in radio commercials. Oh, duck that. Nothing like having your heart jump because of some dumb sound effect. I rage quit the radio every time that happens. I'm getting too old for that shit. The media releasing the full identity, with pictures, of people merely accused of a crime. It bothers me most with sex crimes. A life can be ruined by a law enforcement mistake. 4 people I went to high school with were arrested for throwing bricks onto the interstate, hitting a few cars including one with a child in it. They didn't do it and luckily nobody was hurt, but before they found the people who actually did it, their names and faces were all over multiple news stations and the story was talked about for a few days. It's really messed up because they put all 4 of the boys' faces on the news, not just their names. Now those guys have to explain to people that the police made a mistake and that there wasn't even a trial because they proved they weren't even in the area at the time this happened. All really good guys too. Edit. Since there seems to be some confusion by my wording, what I meant was that I knew these guys in high school and this was the summer after they graduated, before they went to college. So they weren't minors, and don't ask me about legal steps they took because I never felt that was my place to ask. Knowing the parents, I'm sure they would have taken legal steps if they found it necessary. However, you have to think about how much time and money that stuff can take to figure out if it's even worth it. Also, for those asking, this was in Michigan. Edit. I know nobody asked, but they proved they weren't in the area at the time of the crime because they were playing Pokémon Go and they were able to use the location services used by the app to prove where they were at the time of the crime. Pretty cool stuff if you ask me. WTF. I heard about this. Yep, I hated your friends. I saw their pictures. Teachers calling parents about children claiming that they are being abused. I reached out for help probably a dozen times for me and my sister because we were being abused. Our abuser was very charismatic and charming and seemed to be an amazing Christian. Instead of contacting CPS when I told them, they just called them and asked why I said that. Thanks for sending me home to get the shit beat out of me, Mrs. Janet. Edit. I'm literally crying reading all of these. I'm so sorry reading all of your similar stories. I hope teachers far and wide read this and never do the same thing. It feels amazing to have at least 7k people read my story and agree with me. Someone should start an Ask Reddit thread strictly about this subject. Teachers are meant to report it. It isn't an issue with the law, but with Mrs. Janet. Our legal obligation is to call police or DHS first before anyone else. Never the family. Mrs. Janet was a lawbreaker. Edit. To clarify, where I live, DHS is Department of Human Services. The ability to purchase mass amounts of event tickets by scalpers. Pokemon Go Fest, where $20 tickets sold in a minute and were $400 online the next. Only for their whole setup to completely shit itself on site. Child beauty pageants. It's illegal in a metric shit ton of places. But not all places. That's the issue. For-profit prisons. Especially when they nickel and dime them for every little thing. A lot of people are there because they tried to escape poverty as an unwise way. Let's not make it impossible for them to succeed. Hey now, the inmates still get 5 cents a week. Ducking child marriage. Recently learned my home state is apparently a popular destination wedding local for pedophiles, child rapists, and various religious sects. Due to the ease with which a child marriage can be approved, I'm on board with locking the adults responsible for this in cages. Edit. Since many are asking for more details, I was referring to versions of this story which have been making the rounds on the local news stations recently. At least one of the stories I have seen about it discussed religious sects that marry their young girls to older men, and sometimes come to Missouri to take advantage of the loose marriage laws. I've rephrased the original comment as I didn't mean for it to sound like pedophiles and child rapists are Christian groups. This is a thing. WTF. MLMs and telemarketers. My parents got sucked into a MLM scheme and it's bleeding them dry. Telemarketers can change their number to look like something else. My grandmother got tricked by this because she thought it was the number of someone she knew and they tried to weasel a couple grand out of her. Not just look like, they use real local numbers. I've gotten at least 3 calls or messages asking who I was and why I called. My phone shows no record of an outgoing call. Turns out it's the auto dealers popping up as my number. I've noticed that almost all auto dealers use the same first 3 digits as my number after the area code. I just don't answer calls from those numbers anymore. If it's legitimate, they can leave a message. Releasing the identity of lottery winners. Something that is supposed to be good is ruined by everyone's greed. If I'm not mistaken, it's been years since I've looked it up, but you can hire a lawyer to prevent your name from being released. The money can be won by a trust. Changing the wording in bills or earmarking at the last minute to sneak something into law. I think any changes whatsoever should reset a clock that delays voting on passing any bill so that the citizens have time to review and state their case for or against. 100% this. Riders should be banned. A bill should also have a name and an acronym that accurately reflect what it is about. Government bribes. You mean lobbying, of course. You mean campaign contributions? Paper advertisements in the mail. Such a waste. Our postal system is only afloat because of junk mail. And Amazon. Not using the Oxford comma. Complaining about grammar on the internet and hypocrisy. Gosh darn you, sir. Take my upvote. This reminds me of my favorite Austin Powers quote, "There's only 2 things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch." You know those TV preachers who keep asking for money and clearly are using it on themselves. That. But I can't talk to God if I fly coach. He only talks to me on a private jet. Warning. Don't watch if you don't want to be pissed off. https://yahoo BADH2DGSXJSS. Convenience fees for me to pay my bills online. I understand that at normal locations the transnational fees are baked into the sale. When I buy $20 of groceries and swipe my card, some amount of that is going to pay the vendor cost for that transaction. But it's insulting as hell when I'm trying to pay my electric bill and they charge me a $10 ducking fee to pay it online. This is 2018. Paying online should be the norm, not considered convenient. It's the complete opposite here. Finland. There are no fees if you get your bill electronically, straight to bank and or email. B. Pay it online, but it costs extra if you want a paper bill from mail. Usually this is $2 per bill. B. Pay in person in a bank. That's anything upwards from $5, usually in the $20 range. It's crazy to me that that isn't the norm everywhere these days. Online fees for paying bills sounds like something from the early days of internet. Being a paparazzo, aside from the taking pictures in public part, everything they do is illegal if done to regular people. It's stalking and harassment. I don't understand why they are allowed to get away with it just because their victims are famous. I think celebrity worship is crazy. These are just people. They want to live normal lives, not have every moment of their lives documented by the media. I hear people say that they want to be famous someday, and I always think no, you really don't. I hear people say that they want to be famous someday. You think the reason most people who say that do so is because the aspect of being praised for whatever work you do, athletics, music, acting etc., by the general public is generally seen as something to aspire to, but it of course does come with the caveat of being hounded by the media. And if you get to a high enough level, rarely being able to walk around anywhere without a crowd of people stopping you. Some people though definitely seem to fantasize about being the center of attention 24/7, and it's honestly very baffling. I think celebrity worship is crazy. The one thing that's always baffled me about people knowingly giving somebody AIDS without telling them is legal in California. Giving somebody a plastic straw without them asking is what they want to make illegal. California is full on paste eating level of retarded. California is full on paste eating level of retarded. I live here. Can confirm. It's illegal in California to give someone HIV. It's a misdemeanor. Asset forfeiture. Do you mean asset forfeiture without due process, or do you think people should profit from crime? Not a dig. Just asking. They probably mean taking assets prior to conviction for a crime. Talking on a cell phone and driving is legal in my state. My best friend is the worst person who does this. I can't believe she hasn't wrecked yet. She just talks and swerves and pays no attention to the road. In the UK, if you get caught twice driving whilst holding a mobile phone, you are looking at a driving ban. Very frowned upon here, but still see a lot of people doing it. It depends per state, but you would likely need 10 plus infractions for talking on a cell while driving in the stats to get to that point. My old college roommate is on his 9th seatbelt ticket and they are just now threatening him with a seatbelt lockout system if he gets a few more citations. Gerrymandering. Redistricting is a necessary thing. The problem is that it is partisan, as most states give the right to draw the lines to the party in power. That is what needs to change. I thought that already was illegal. Robocalls. I hear daily about my car's warranty expiring and my file is going to be closed forever if I don't act now. Close the file already. Along with that, phone number spoofing on caller ID. I've been getting more and more of these daily. It's become futile using number blocking apps. So I'm not the only one that thought that was sketchy, and they claim this is the last time we will try to contact you. How the duck do they even know I have a warranty? You know when they are doing roadwork but they pause for a week and just throw down steel plates that chew up your tires and cause you to lose traction? Well, when I am Supreme Lord Emperor of the world, if you start roadwork you must have a full crew working 24/7 until the roadwork is complete. Failure to comply will result in you being volunteered for medical experiments. I was originally thinking summary execution, but I figured this way society benefits a little more. Nevada has a version of this. A road crew gets a bonus for finishing early or on time and docked pay if they are late. To be fair, most public projects are like this. I've heard stories where the contractors made more from their early completion bonus than they originally bid. Driving slow in the left lane. But I'm British. Did he ducking stutter? Lobbying. Edit. Financial lobbying from PACs corporations because everyone likes to nitpick. Here's the problem. The right to lobby is there to guarantee access to your representatives. The right to stand in the lobby and confront them. This of course has been perverted into what we see today. Large financial donations to political campaigns. Puppy mills aren't illegal in most states. I don't get this. Who even uses puppy flour? Hot dog bun companies. Marriage for anyone under the age of 18. Minors can currently be married with parental consent in certain areas. I can only imagine these marriages happen due to pregnancy, pedophile predation, or money, all of which are terrible reasons to get married. Open bracket. Yes, I believe shotgun weddings are a bad thing. Child support without marriage is better than growing up in a household where wife and husband hate each other. Some 16 or 17-year-olds often do this to get out of the miserable home environment they live in. I'm not saying it's the most intelligent plan in the long run, but many don't know of any other way to escape. Privatize prisons because of how exploitative they are and politicians getting money from major corporations. Buying things from overseas countries where slavery is legal, importing those products to the US and selling them for cheap. Doubly so if the companies use child slave labor. Looking at you. Hershey, Nike, Gap, Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie & Fitch, Nestle, and probably 24 others. Many of these companies are actually beginning to build again in first world countries because they can fully automate the process and don't need labor anymore. Robocalls with a recorded message that this is my final notice about my student loan or car warranty, or any robocall. If someone wants to call me and offer their good or services, fine, but dial the phone yourself and talk to me. Having our internet slowed down by greedy CEOs. Any branch of the government that regulates itself. I got fined more than my annual income because a tree fell during the worst storm I've ever seen here. The tree knocked down a shared fence and several other trees in other yards knocked down the power lines. Within hours the city code enforcement came out and wrote me up. They actually came out, knocked down another fence in order to take pictures of the damage and fined me because it's illegal to have storm damage during a storm. I nearly lost my house over it. They have laws that say you can't do anything about it unless you meet all their rules for complaining. They did the same thing because they said my grass doesn't grow fast enough. They measure the rate of growth over a 2-week period and fined me thousands because they said my grass wasn't growing fast enough. They still won't tell me what speed grass is required to grow. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.